Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to this presentation where we're going to be talking about the Microsoft integrations, both that we have coming for back to school, so the changes you'll see that are happening over the summer, but also giving you a little sneak peek into the things that the teams will be working on as we move into the autumn. My name is Stephen Threadgold. I'm Head of Product Management here at itslearning, and I'm pleased to say that today I'm joined by Frøydis. Frøydis is the product owner whose team's responsible for driving forwards the Microsoft integrations, but I'll let Frøydis introduce herself as we go through. A couple little bits of housekeeping. We are recording this webinar. It is one of 3 webinars that we've run over the past few weeks. If you missed the first 2, one on all of the features that we have coming for back to school, then you can see that on our YouTube channel. I know it may not be of interest to many people on this call, but we also have an integration with Google. You can find out all about that. We did a deep dive last week, and that will be on our YouTube channel. And the video that or the webinar we have today, we'll be putting it on the YouTube channel so you can sort of point colleagues in your institutions to that. And today we're only going to be focusing on what we're doing with Office, Teams, SharePoint, and so on. We're not going to be talking about the other features we have coming in itslearning, but you can go and have a look at the videos if you want to. As we go through, we really want you to ask questions. There's a questions tab, which is in the GoToMeeting control panel, which is at the side of your screen. If you pop that out, if you click on that, you'll see there's a little box to put questions. We will ask you to put your questions to all if you can, because we will answer all when we reply. And that'll be a place where, as we're going through, we will answer as many questions as we can. I'll be answering those as Frøydis is guiding us through our developments. And any that we can't answer, we'll try and gather and put those on our website afterwards. But hopefully we'll be able to answer all of those as we go through. If you have any sort of burning questions on something that's just being demoed, wait for us to move to the next section. If we haven't answered your question, put it in and I will try and answer those questions as we go through, and you'll see them appear in the questions tab. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Frøydis. She will give us a quick introduction and then she'll take us through the great features we have coming for Office in the summer.
All right, thank you, Stephen. So my name is Frøydis Hamre. I'm working in our Bergen office, and I've been working here now for about 5 years. And before that, I used to teach chemistry, maths and science. So I've been doing that for about 8 years. My current focus here in itslearning is working with the Microsoft integration, some other cloud tool stuff, and also our new tool for individual learning plans. So cloud-based solutions are increasingly used, and our goal is for you to be able to choose your cloud solution and still have a smooth experience in itslearning. For Google users, you will have noticed a few features and improvements over the past year, and now the time has come for Microsoft integrations. I'll give you a short overview of our existing capabilities and then move on to the content of our back-to-school package. So I want to start simple. It's easy for me, surrounded by our brilliant developers and testers, to use technical terms that might not be as crystal clear for everyone else. So what is an integration? In the digital world, an integration is some kind of communication interface that exists between 2 products or pieces of software. For example, you can fetch information from one system into another, or the opposite, send information from one system to the other. You are surrounded by integrations in your daily digital life. For example, I have a mobile app that communicates with several parking facilities around the city and automatically charges my card with the correct rate for that parking facility. And so the app is integrated with the payment system. itslearning has had an integration with Office 365 email and the possibility to use Azure AD as a single sign-on solution for a long time. This makes it possible for administrators to manage accounts for Office 365 email through itslearning, and for you as a user to manage your emails through itslearning. It's important to note that this is not an integration with other Office 365 applications, as our integration was actually built before those were available. Access to OneDrive, both a personal OneDrive or a OneDrive for business or education, means you can connect your Microsoft account to your itslearning account. This allows you to fetch files from OneDrive into itslearning no matter what device you use. There is no dependency between this option and the Office 365 email integration. A couple of years ago, we also added the option to use Office Online inside our LMS. We spent a lot of time piloting this, meaning we turned it on for only some of our schools and let them test it. This is now freely available for everyone and can be enabled by the administrator. In addition, you can always embed simple and efficient resources like MS Forms or Sway by copying the embed code into, for example, a note into your itslearning course. So I'll show you how an embedded Sway will look for a student. So the Sway here is embedded in a note. Sways are responsive and will adapt to your screen if you're opening the note on a mobile phone. I'll now talk a bit about Office Online, what it is and how it relates to Microsoft Office in general. For those of you who use the Office applications a lot, you have probably already discovered that the functionality that is available depends on the platform or device you're using. That means that what you can do in the desktop version of Word on your Windows computer is not the same as what you can do in the Word app on your phone or an iPad. In short, Word is not Word. Just like we in itslearning make careful considerations about what we should build, or in some cases retire, Microsoft considers which features they should build into their apps and online versions. So we get the tools we need, but at the same time, a piece of software that's quick and easy to use. What makes it extra confusing is that Word in Office Online inside itslearning is not the same as Word in Office Online using Office 365. What we have is a so-called on-premise solution, meaning our own installation of Office that we deliver as part of itslearning. This makes it possible for your students and teachers to use Word, Excel, and PowerPoint in itslearning without having a Microsoft account. Another benefit is that you don't have to think about where those documents are stored, because they're right where you want them in their pedagogical context. So what are we now adding in our Back to School updates? We have some improved options in Office Online, making sure you get the latest version. We've made the Make a Copy functionality for each student in the assignment tool, taking advantage of the Office Online service. And lastly, we allow you to add files also from SharePoint to your course, plan, assignment, and so on. Please note that you'll also find files from Teams in SharePoint. I'll go a bit into the details of these updates. So we have renovated our version of Office Online to make it more stable and performing better. At the same time, we also updated it to the latest version. With these improvements, the difference between what you can do in your desktop application and what you can do in Office Online in itslearning gets as small as possible. As mentioned earlier, it's not the same product, and there will always be some discrepancies. For some people, those are hardly noticeable, and for others, they might be a bit annoying, because it affects the exact feature you use a lot. You'll now find new options in both Word, Excel, and PowerPoint when you open them for editing inside itslearning. Office Online works directly in the browser within the framework of itslearning. The teacher has complete control of who can read and edit the document in the same way as with any other element inside an itslearning course. There are a lot of ways to share and collaborate on documents, both inside and outside of itslearning. In general, a teacher has two main workflows. They want to share a document with the students for them to read, or they want to share a document that the students can collaborate on. I'm leaving assignments out of the picture for now, as I'll return to that. By creating an Office document from inside itslearning, it's super easy for you to allow anyone in that course to collaborate on the document. Just click Word, Excel, or PowerPoint on the Add page and adjust the permissions as you like. A very popular feature we made for our Google integration last year was the option to make a copy for each student when you create an assignment with a Google document. Seemingly a small little thing when you see it in the assignment tool, but tons of work behind the scenes. We've now done the same for Office Online. This means that as a teacher, you can use a Word document, Excel spreadsheet, or PowerPoint presentation in an assignment and hand out a copy of that for each student to use as the basis of their answer. This means that you as a teacher get more consistency. All the students will hand in the same file format, and the students don't get their files lost somewhere. They're also always found in the assignment. I'm now logged on as a teacher, and I want to add an assignment with a template to the plan for next week. I already added learning objectives to my plan, and when I create the assignment, those are automatically included there, as you can see in the sidebar to the right, along with other options. I find the file in my OneDrive. Note that you will also see the SharePoint access here, which will give me SharePoint sites and Teams. And I add the file to the assignment. When it's uploaded, I can select Make a copy for each student. I check that the assignment is visible for students and set a deadline to ensure that it shows up in the task list, in the calendar events, and in our new course cards. So now I'm logged on as a student, and I find the assignment my teacher just created in my task list. When I open it, I can see the teacher's description and the rubrics connected to the relevant learning objectives for this assignment. When I click Answer, my copy of the file is opened and I can enter my data. So when I'm done with that, I simply close the tab. All the work is saved automatically. And when I click Submit, it's ready for my teacher to assess. Back as the teacher, I can assess the students' work directly in the all-in-one grader with full access to comments and making changes in the document. In the same view, I can give my feedback as text, audio, or video, all without leaving itslearning. So I'm writing a text comment in the feedback here. So I'm saving that, and with a single click, I can go to the next student submission. itslearning handles the distribution and access permissions, and this saves you time and frustration, because you can trust that all students have what they need to submit their work, and you get submissions of a consistent format. In addition, you're helping those students make sure their work is always saved and available to them in the context where it belongs. Accessing your OneDrive from itslearning is easily done in a simple step by connecting your Microsoft account to your itslearning account. We guide you through this without any complications, and you only have to do it once. If you have a work or school account connected, we'll show you the Office 365 icon, as you can see on the screen now, to let you know. This means that you can access both OneDrive and SharePoint. Please note that for the SharePoint access to work, your administrator must have given consent on behalf of the organization. This can be done in the administrator menus. If you have a personal account connected, we'll show you the usual OneDrive icon. If you upload a document from OneDrive to itslearning, you can safely trust that we will handle access permissions and your students will find the document in its correct context. I mentioned earlier that not all versions of Word can do the same thing. Some features are still missing in some versions, and we know that many teachers have an established practice of how they work and how they assess student work. In some cases, that relies on functionality that's only available in the desktop application, like the Office add-ins. This is not easily resolved in our Office Online offering, but we're now working to solve this by allowing you to open the document from inside itslearning in your desktop application, where you have all your familiar features. We'll take care of saving your work so nothing gets lost. For those of you who remember the old direct edit functionality, this is going to be a very good replacement for that. In addition, we know that OneNote is gaining users in education and it's becoming very popular. We want to allow you to pick pages from OneNote, just like you can pick a file from your OneDrive and add them to your courses, plans, and assignments. Of course, we're also constantly working on other minor things, like updating icons, giving administrators good information, and improving your everyday workflows. The two last points I've mentioned here, the open in desktop and access to OneNote, are things that we want to be working on after the summer. So this is not something you will see available for you with the next upcoming releases, but a bit later on. I think that was it. Stephen, do you have any questions that we want to answer here?
Yeah, there was a couple of questions. One was about the online equation editor, which I think is in the standard version of Word, but I don't think is in the online version. We had a look at if that's something that we could introduce into our Office online.
Yeah, I was looking into that a while ago. And as far as I remember, there's been an improvement, so at least we should now show the equations. Well, we didn't before, but I think the editor still doesn't work.
Okay, so that's something we are still looking at. But of course, if you open it in Word, which is something that we are planning to introduce later in the year, not for back to school, but later in the year, the idea that I can just open my Word documents online in my Word editor, I'll get the full features of Word, and then I can re-upload them. So at the moment they're being shown online, as Freude says, that's something that is great, but we will still be looking at the best way to get it into the online version. And then similar question, actually no, similar person asking it, not a similar question. Integration of Office 365 without the students having to activate it for themselves. So integration of mail. I don't.
Yeah, don't get those two confused. There's a difference between the mail integration and the Office 365 files access. Those are two separate setups, and the mail setup can be done by the administrator. But at this point, the access to OneDrive, whether it's a personal one or a work or school account, you need to do that for the user, or I mean, the user needs to do that for themselves.
Yes, you need to do that. But long term, and I'm sorry we don't have a date for that, but long term that is something we want to try and fix, so you can have automatic provisioning.
We just finished the work for that for the Google integration. So we'll probably be looking into that, the same thing for the Microsoft integration as we move along. But as you said, we don't really have a time frame for that.
Yeah. So just to sort of keep everybody up to date, it's something that we have done for Google. We've built it into the way our integrations work, and so we'll be looking at that, I guess, sometime in the autumn, because you can see there's already a lot to get done through the summer, but sometime in the autumn we'll have a look at whether we can do that for Office as well. Of course, that means you will then need to set this up at the higher level to allow itslearning to be able to create these accounts on the fly, but that's something that we are looking at, but I think it'll be the autumn before we see any movement on that. So just to see, does anybody else have any more questions? We're absolutely happy to answer those as we go through. Okay, great. So it's just me now to say thank you, Freude, for giving us that introduction. A reminder to everybody that we will keep our roadmap up to date. So as things get added, as things get close to being delivered, if you have a look at the roadmap that's online on our website, you'll see things change from in research, the things we're looking at long term, to in planning, to in development. And in development means you're going to get them soon. So most of the things we're showing today are in development. We'll be releasing them over the next 3 or so releases that take us through to September, and then we'll have a whole suite of other things coming in the autumn. So thanks very much, Freude. Thanks so much for your attendance today, and of course we'll be putting this video onto our YouTube channel, so you can always forward it to colleagues, especially if there's things you think are really going to, it's good to show them the things that are coming on itslearning. So thanks very much for attendance today, and we'll speak soon.